Expert authority world, you know I love talking about entrepreneurship and business and bringing you the best of the best, and today is no exception. I have none other than Dr. Dianne Welsh, Distinguished Professor of the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, international business, and her books, everything she's accomplished all the years, especially women-owned business, to help you bring it to your business. I'm going to bring her up right after we thank the sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dianne Welsh. Dianne, how are you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Excited to hear about your expertise because I can't even fit it all into. You've accomplished so much. What made you want to get into entrepreneurship and helping international businesses?
Well, I grew up in a family business, Boyd Division Welsh Sporting Goods. My
Okay.
dad created the very first soft sided luggage in the world, so I've been around it my whole life.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, in a little town called Iowa Falls, Iowa, we had a 4-story factory, and in the early 60s, he took gear bags that were meant for hunting and fishing and made square luggage bags out of them, and soft sided luggage was born for the world.
Wow. That's very intriguing. So you wanted to go down the same route inspired by your father, and what has been the most interesting business you've been able to help out?
Um, I would probably say that business, and that's because we took it from startup, the title of my book is Entrepreneurial Family Business from Survival to Success. Not over 95% of the businesses in the world are family businesses. So all the way from mom and pops starting out to women-owned businesses where they have partners involved and family members. And it's true around the world that this is the engine that drives success. So I grew up in that engine and I started selling myself and had my own business when I was 10. I sold black raspberries and red raspberries to the grocery stores. My mom saved the little strawberry containers, and entrepreneurship was born in me.
Oh, that's fantastic. I started my first business when I was 12. Lawnmower, not a lawnmower. Lawn cutting, power washing, painting, all that type of stuff. And I think it's great. I love seeing people on Shark Tank now and just hearing about people. There's 7, 8, 9. You said 10-year-olds. What age do you think is the best age to encourage entrepreneurship and someone to start?
It starts at a very early age, so I think the earlier the better to model. I started actually working in our family business with my mom and dad when I was 8 years old, sweeping floors for about $1 an hour. Oh, it wasn't even an hour, it was $1 a day, actually.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, I really believe modeling is very, very important at a very young age, and they pick up things you don't even realize. So I don't think, I think when you get to 7, 8 and there, you're good to go.
Okay. It's would you say it's pretty established by that point anyhow?
In young people,
Yeah, I mean, I know people. I don't think there's a bad age to get started. Colonel Sanders got started at what, 66 with KFC, literally driving around the country just to demonstrate chicken? Not demonstrate chicken. What do you do? Sample it. Um,
there's there's never any age that you can't be an entrepreneur.
I
That's a,
agree.
that's a fallacy if you believe that. It's all about looking at everything like it's the first day of the rest of your life and running with the ball. And I often tell people, don't wait, do it now because there's always going to be something that comes up, whether it's house payments, getting married, you know, children,
College
cars,
tuition.
college tuition, whatever it is, the sooner you do it, the better.
Are there any better businesses than other ones, or do you think it depends on the people?
I think that most of it is looking at ways to innovate around what's already there. And that's what we know is that most businesses start not necessarily from a new invention or a new product. but it's usually a better way to do something that's already done or a product that's out there that they do a little bit better. So it's mostly doing something a little bit better than how it's been done. And how you do that and learn from that as you get in that business. And oftentimes people will start a business after they've worked in it for somebody else. And then they realize, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this, and new businesses are born.
Are you a firm believer in starting your own business or a merger and acquisition scenario where you take it over from someone and build off of what they already initiated?
Well, right now is a great time around the world to buy an existing business because many businesses, and this has been true probably for the last 15 years, they were started after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And this is true around the world. And they've already got a clientele built up and they want to retire usually, whoever own, they're in that age bracket, even after World War II. And lots of times there isn't family members that want to take it over. And so they're looking for an exit. And so there's some advantages to it. You have to be careful on the financials, how they're figuring out their balance sheets and their
Mm-hmm.
income statements and because did they take a salary, for instance? Lots of times business owners, they'll take $1 a year salary. Well, if you're buying a business to actually have a salary, that's got to figure into your financials. So I think that, there's not one clear answer. A lot of it depends if you can find a business that you want to go into to begin with. And then number two, the location does that work for you and your family? And number three, is this the path you want to take of an existing business and build it? Because it gives a good foundation if they have clientele. And if you can't find something, then it's better to start your own. So, but I don't think there's any tried or true right or wrong way to do
Okay.
it. You have to take all those factors into consideration.
Depends more on the person, huh?
Well, it depends on the person, the environment, the country you're in, the state you're in, where the technology is, where the marketplace is at the time. But I think that people do ignore the fact that there's a lot of good existing businesses out there for sale that they could start in. So,
I
um,
agree. I've noticed a trend the last few years between my friends and I where 10, 20 years ago it was, should I start a business or not? And now I've noticed a lot of people with existing businesses are buying up other ones or acquiring even a portion of it or something. And like you're saying, there's great businesses already set up. They're looking to exit. You don't need to do, you're going to pay a premium for it, but you just save 5 or 10 years of having to grow it and get the word out there and all of that. If there's existing clientele and it's turnkey.
well, you may have to pay a premium, you may not, because many business owners want to retire. And if it's harder to sell a business, I always say to entrepreneurs when they're looking at starting a business, okay, when you're starting the business, also do an exit strategy. So, what's your exit strategy?
Okay.
Let's take and have that down for like 2 or 3 pages of your business model, your business plan. So you actually realize where you're going. And the exit strategy is not going to be the same for everybody. Maybe they want a family member to take it over. Maybe they want to keep it in the family. They may say, no, I want to get out this quick. I want to make some fast cash and move on to something that I think has more potential. So I'm just doing this to get through. And for instance, I had a student that started a business selling musical instruments to high schools from China originally.
Oh.
And they were a lot cheaper at the time. This has been 20 years ago than they were in, US made instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So he worked something out and got into high schools and lots of times kids don't stay in bands, right? They stay in it a year because their parents are making them or whatever. And they don't end up in the symphony. And so he started this business and the whole purpose was to pay for his MBA. And then he sold it to another student. The big thing is he found somebody to repair the instruments, which was a big part of it. And then that student started another business repairing electronics and musical instruments altogether. So it ended up spinning off into another business. And then he sold the original business to another student and he got his MBA paid and went into something else.
Wow, that's cool. And especially at a younger age, too. I mean, uh, mergers and acquisitions, I don't think most 15, 20, 25 year olds, that's the norm. Um, but that's cool as heck to do. I didn't turn it into a full business, but I did pay for some of my college classes by selling books for the class that I actually this is date me a little bit, but it was when Amazon was first coming out and the bookstore had one book for $80, the other books, so the campus bookstore was 80, the bookstore offsite, which was slightly cheaper across the street, was 55. And I think I was selling them. I got them on Amazon for 10 or 12, sold them for 25, 30, and
And there you go.
covered class for it. I mean, it was just a math equation. I didn't want to turn into a bookstore. It was a means to an end for that thing. But yeah, if you can sell, the product is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, it's a side gig. And that's what
Yeah.
it's about. And it's always been about side gigs because that's how you get started. Side gigs aren't new.
Yeah. They just
It's
got a
just
new
the
name to
word
them.
sort of new, but the concept is not new. That's how people start a lot of businesses and get that experience. And it's partly that selling that's so important to a business.
You had mentioned, I want to talk more about the family businesses and the nuances as to them, but you had said something that most 95% of businesses are family businesses, but you piqued my interest with, and most family members don't want to take them over once the initial people are ready to exit. Why do you think that is? Nowadays, caveat
Well,
nowadays.
yeah, I think it's a phenomenon that's more nowadays. Um, I think the more we educate about family business, the better off those students are ready to take the family business. I teach a family business course, and when I started it in 2009, I think I had 14 students. Now it sells out. I have 65 in every class, and I can't keep seats in it.
Wow.
So they're
Two
looking
semesters?
in one semester. And
Okay.
then there's the graduate one that we used to teach too, but it's an undergrad class. And, I always tell students it's not about you have to be in the family business. Some of them are and are trying to figure out, do I want to take this over? The other group is people that want to start their own family business. I had one student that said, I lived through the recession with my family. Everybody lost their job. My aunts and uncles lost their jobs, and I don't want that to happen anymore. So I'm going to start my own family business to make sure everybody always has a job. So, and if you look at first generation college students, they see this as a way to build wealth,
Mm-hmm.
a way to build legacy. I'm a big believer in family businesses, and that's why I wrote Entrepreneurial Family Business from Survival to Success. And it's the story of my family business. It's written in the first person. It's about 100 pages, 125 and a lot of, I hired a professional photographer. I had all the original spreadsheets
Oh,
for
wow.
the balance sheets from when we started and all the products and showed actually the innovation and the revolution of creating products. But I write it as first person, and each chapter has lessons learned at the end of each chapter. So, it's very practical, very hands-on. Yeah, there's a few, you know, academic studies in there, but I explain it not like an academic study. I explain it how it's going to help you with your business. So it's a great primer. And it talks about the personal side as well as the professional side. So, there's my master's is in psychology, my PhD's in business. So, a lot of what you have to deal with family business is the psychology side, especially if you're working with other family members, which you usually are, whether they're
Okay.
cousins or aunts or uncles or brothers or sisters, parents. So it's balancing that family side with the business side and the ownership side, which may be a different uh, entity altogether. So we talk about that, and all those three entities are there. And I tell the story of the family business and how the next my cousin ended up taking the business over because my dad and uncle owned the business, but my uncle owned more of it than my dad.
Oh, I see.
You know, my cousin took over and then he lost the business. So it tells about a very stable business. The building was paid off in 17 years. We had a lot of money in the bank. We had two product lines, the sporting goods and the luggage. And then it tells the story of how the next generation actually lost it and what to do to
Oh, wow.
avoid these things. So I think it's a good read for people that are in a family business, those that want to start a family business. And then my other book's about global. And the other one that your probably audience is not quite as interested in is how you feel build entrepreneurship across the whole campus. So entrepreneurship in the arts, entrepreneurship in the sciences,
Well,
and that's
that's
how to
intriguing
do it.
because so many people, you start one business and I've noticed people who go, let's do a second one or a spin-off or something similar. Like you said, we're selling the books here, but now, no, I'm sorry, the musical instruments, but now you need the repair. Maybe you need a cleaning. Maybe you need a rental division. There's all these ancillary, like the auto industry. You have the big three automakers, but you have, I, I would like to find this stat. I just have a feeling all the second tier one, two, and three and the third party manufacturers may be bigger than the initial industry. Disney with their movies. I was just telling someone about the example of, you know, whether you like them or not, they have some of the biggest movies around, and they were on a hot streak, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And the article I read was talking about how the movie was basically an advertisement. They didn't even care they were losing money as a movie on its own because all the third party, the stuffed animals, the boxes, the lunch things, the toys, it was I'm like, I can't even imagine dropping 200 million on an advertisement. Like, cool, you get a movie out of it. But how you're talking expanding across the campus, I hear it very akin to how do you grow your business? Like, do you acquire a completely different one, or what ideas have you given entrepreneurs to say, hey, here's how you can expand your business into different areas that are complementary?
Well, first of all, I talked about innovation and being up on the news. I'm constantly saying, read everything, see everything. People are like, I don't know how to get an idea. Well, you got constantly have to be feeding yourself information. What we know is the people that are closest to you are probably not going to be as supportive as sort of an interest group you have or people that are more
Why is that?
auxiliary to you.
Help me solve
Because
this, even if it's no one else. Why is this?
Why is that? Because family are family and they always can find something wrong with what you're going to do. And, it's a risk and
Are we
they
allowed
get
to point
worried
fingers
about,
back and talk about them?
yeah, yeah. It's good to know to find your support group. And usually that's not with the people that are closest to you. Friends also, not your closest friends. Um, there's a lot of doubters. You have to have a lot of confidence in yourself. But I always say, really get up on the news, really read what's going on all the time. And you'll get ideas, sometimes ideas from other products or services that might apply to something else that nobody's looking at. So, I think that's the secret to it. And also figure out when you start that business, like you said, what are some of the auxiliary things that might build off of this? And that right now here in Greensboro, we have Toyota Battery Factory building a multi-million-dollar plant. And there's all these auxiliary companies that are starting to pop up in the area. And some of them are homegrown businesses that say, hey, you know, they're going to need an HR group to help fill all these jobs. And they're
Very
also going
true.
to need skills, to build batteries and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things you can start thinking if you look at what is going on where you're at and be constantly aware of that and the economic development organizations and the chambers and what are they doing and where are they at. And there are many cities and towns have incubators where you can go into
Right.
it or the chamber is paying for free and gives you a lot of help. So
And
there's
access, because some of them have the inside
right.
track of like, hey, here's what's coming on next year that no one even knows, but we partnered with A, B, and C, and it's not even going to be public for 6 months. And then 3 months after that, we're going to do a press release for this and this. Um, and I live in Detroit, born and raised, love it. But the auto industry, there's some things I learned about, like, I'm like, this is cool as heck. Like the renovation in different areas, it's like no one even knew about it, and they were already underway of it, and it wasn't even going to be access to the public. I think it was at least 3 months from the time I was there for a private tour, and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
sweet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's knowing that ecosystem that exists in every town, every city, every region around the world. And that's really where global entrepreneurship fits in because of the internet, because of technology, you can sell anywhere. You can have a business anywhere. And that's really revolutionized what we're doing. And so the global issue is, you need to know the ecosystem, be tied into it, get the networking down locally, but then globally, there's also an ecosystem. And there might be an ecosystem for your product or service, and you need to get networked into that ecosystem worldwide. And then that's where, you know, you can make a lot of money going global too.
Do
And
you
I
think
would say
every business
start
should
local
go
and digital.
international and global?
No, no, I don't. It depends on the industry. Depends on the person. It depends on the infrastructure that's needed. It depends on the infrastructure you have available. So you can only handle so much. If you got two people working in a business to start out versus 150, and one person knows the export licenses and what you have to do with the exports, that's totally different. You might have to add that person to your business, but if the
Okay.
market's there, that may be something you want to do. Being in the United States is a great place to be because we have access to so much more and so much more skills and technology um, and I think innovation, we're just a very entrepreneurial, innovative, country. And
Yeah,
when
we
you
are.
around the globe, and I've been to 72 countries, and I've taught in about, you know, close to that, and also done research and stuff. And just the way we think and the way we need to clone it. We need it all over the world because that's what makes success. That makes economies. That's what builds ecosystems but it's like we don't even realize how we think differently here in the United States, but we're born that way. I'm totally believer of that. And just, I always ask, did your parents let you get, dirty in the sandbox, or do they say, oh no, don't do that. You've got your good outfit on. No, the parents that let their kids explore, they're the innovators, they're the entrepreneurs, and the multimillionaires and billionaires, they're entrepreneurs. And that's
Right.
that's that's what makes the difference. And we have a tendency to look at failure very differently in the US than they do in other countries. In Japan and some of the other Asian countries, if you fail, you're a disgrace not only to yourself but to your whole family and for generations. We don't look at things
And
like.
even if you are the absolute best, it's just par for the course because that's what's expected.
Yeah, there's just a whole different way. So risk taking is looked at very differently. And I don't ever think that I don't teach risk taking, I teach opportunity seeking. And there's a
Ooh,
big
I like
difference
that
between the
reframe.
two. Yeah, entrepreneurs really don't see risk. I have
And we mitigate it
class.
too. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously we know about it, but we don't just randomly, like you said, for the import export, like let's start an international company. The import export laws alone could make or break the whole thing, regardless of the product
exactly.
being.
Exactly. And so, get the business built. Then when you look at expanding, where are the better opportunities? Some of them may be international, some of them may be local. You've got to figure all that out. And then you have to have the infrastructure inside the business as well. And look at the infrastructure outside the business and the barriers to, are you going to be able to get into it?
We're
One thing I
talking
have
about
up in my wall, and this was by Glassman in 1937. He said, academia is the last bastion for the troublemaking individual. And entrepreneurship is the last, to me, is all about people that are troublemakers. Entrepreneurs are not like anybody else. They don't necessarily, they're the ones that can get fired pretty easy because they say something, that they're not supposed to.
all the time. All the time. Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but I'm thinking of my close friends. We're all entrepreneurial. Yeah. Uh-huh. Rebel.
Yeah.
Enough. Enough. Like there's that you have to be. I mean, when if I can't even imagine trying to grow a business. Someone's like, you can't do that. The second I hear that, I'm like, watch me and basically double down and find an even better way. And most people go, oh, well, they told me I can't. Who's they? Who is this they person? And what gave them the right?
It's just entrepreneurs, you know, they need a lot of encouragement. They need a lot of that networking, that focus group, but they usually you can't listen to people like that. But you have to take calculated risks, not, entrepreneurs are not people that just, oh, we're going to throw the dice. They're not risks, they're not
Not so
gamblers.
much. I was going to say not so much gamblers,
No,
but not risk averse completely.
no,
One
but
bit.
no. And the best thing, if you do a feasibility analysis, which is idea to opportunity, and put it on paper, I teach a whole class in this.
Okay, tell
Your
me more. This
chances
is
of success are
sounds pretty
60.
structured.
It's from idea to opportunity. If you put something down on paper and analyze that, is it an idea or is it really an opportunity? And that's what we do in feasibility analysis. Is the idea really feasible? If
Okay.
you do that before you do the business plan, your chances of success are 60% higher. Most people have never heard of feasibility plans. They go right into um, business plans. And the business plan is um, opportunity to action. They've already, they say no, because it's my idea. People are very self-centered usually. And hopefully they did some research behind it. I know this is going to work. It's an opportunity. I'm not going to do that. Is it a good idea or is it really an opportunity? I'm not going
My
to do
idea is different. I'm different.
right. Right. So I'm going to go right into business plan. I'm doing, opportunity to action. And then
Action.
when they
And
fail, they say,
feasibility is
well, I did.
idea to opportunity.
Feasibility is idea to opportunity. Business plan is opportunity to action. You're actually going to put the management team together. You're going to do this.
Okay.
The problem is most people just do a business plan. They haven't even heard of feasibility analysis. And the problem with that, when they fail, they're like, I don't know. I did everything right. I did a business plan. No. Did you do a
You were running
feasibility
uphill to
analysis?
begin with and didn't realize it.
Right. So if it's not really an opportunity, no matter what you do to take it to action, it's not going to work because it's not an opportunity to start with. So you really have to do the research behind it. And
Wow,
I
that's a
talk
great
about
point.
that.
I feel
Yeah,
like I heard about it, but if you were, it's not something that's commonly talked about, even in entrepreneurial circles. And I know a ton of people who never even drew up an initial business plan.
exactly.
It's, I'm going to start a business. Cool. What are you doing? I'll tell you next week. Awesome.
Right.
Best of luck.
Well, and the other thing that they do, a lot of people do, is they hire somebody to write their business plan. Nope. You need to write your business plan
If
because
you can't articulate it, someone else that doesn't have the answers for you.
right, and you need to know where the drawbacks are going to be and where the
Sure.
opportunities are. And having somebody else do it is not going to get you to understand all that. And
So we're
95
covering a lot of great stuff, and I'm sure we could go all day about the nitty gritty and all of it, and I kind of want to, but we were talking international, and I know it's a specialty of yours. You're a very sharp woman, and I think this won't even phase you, but I want to throw another wrench in this just to keep it interesting. Not that it's not already, but there's few people that can speak intelligently on this, and I know you can. How do you feel geopolitical issues are affecting international business?
Oh, There's never a time geopolitical issues don't affect international business. Of course they do. And so much of what business is regional. And, you really have to be on top of it to make sure you understand really what the geopolitical issues are. And right now there's a huge amount of geopolitical issues, as we're
Do
all
you think
aware.
it was ever better, or I know there's always been some, but has the world been against entrepreneur, like the ebbs and flows? Like, can you imagine a world where it's like just leave us alone and let the entrepreneurs do the entrepreneur thing and help people? Do you think there was ever a better time, or is it all just been uphill and we just choose to climb uphill?
Well, I think that entrepreneurship for many countries around the world is almost like they see it as glamorous. Like they think of, some of our big name entrepreneurs, and that's
Sure.
like Mark Zuckerberg, and that's who they think of as an entrepreneur. And we all know that most entrepreneurs don't work in solo, they work on teams. And, that's another secret to going international is you've got to have a team over there you're working with and, that ecosystem again. But the global political, I think the danger is when we become isolationist, when we isolate ourselves. And the danger is because with that thinking, then that doesn't let entrepreneurs expand into other parts of the world.
Okay.
And it also limits because what we do, I am very, very aware of this. I just came back from Lithuania in November. What we do affects the rest of the world. What America does affects how the rest of the world goes and how they look at things and do things. And well, it's okay for the US to do it, so it must be okay for
Mm-hmm.
us. And that's a reality. So we have to always be very aware of whatever we do affects our allies, affects, the global trade agreements. You have to be aware of those who's in those trade agreements. So um, I think the more we're open to look at, it's going to benefit us, right? It's going to benefit us. World trade benefits us, but you have to be aware of all the agreements and stuff. But that isolationist point of view, that's the number one thing that'll hurt us.
Number one business killer, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know businesses have been around hundreds and thousands of years realistically, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, um, you're the professor, and I'm trying to remember what I was taught ages ago, but I believe it was World War II where the economy shifted from, because the U.S. had business prior to that, but it was really, we became a global economy right after World War II because of it. Is that correct?
Uh, Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why, businesses grew around the world. And if you look at Germany, great businesses there, a lot of family businesses after World War II. And I think the big downfall is if we don't, a lot of, in Germany, they don't want to take over the family business. Keeping those family businesses going that are stable, they're great employers. That's very much a key to stability in terms of business, no matter where you are in the world, is a key to
Yeah.
everything.
We touched on it earlier, but why do you feel, why aren't people excited to take it over? I mean, if the family built it up, I mean, I feel like 20 years ago it was like, oh, third generation bakery or auto place or salon or whatever the case. And it kind of saddens me because now I think there's a lot of people after 2008 who go, let's get into business. And now it's like that legacy, that continuing on of it. Why don't people take pride in like, hey, my family built this up and it's good? And
The thing is, Mario, are you from a family business? If you don't mind me asking.
my dad had one, but not this.
Okay. Most of the time when I work with people, and I'm a Family Firm Institute consultant, I've won 4 national and international lifetime achievement awards, and one of them's from the Family Firm Institute.
Congratulations.
And I just won the U.S. Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship Lifetime Achievement Award in January. So that was very exciting for the work I've done. So I always, when somebody says congratulations, I'm like, yeah, at a certain point in your life, they give you these awards.
I
It's
know people with patents that are the same. Like most people would love to have one patent, and I know a couple people that have hundreds and hundreds. They're like,
yes,
oh
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah, and it's sort of like, how many more can I get? And I mean, their mind just works that way. It's
mm-hmm.
great, you know. But the most of the time, the reason is that families bring their businesses home. And so they
Mm.
go to the family business, they work, then they go home and they're sitting around the kitchen table eating daily. And lots of times, other people, like their spouse, like in my case, my mother worked there and she was in charge of sales at Boyd Division Welsh Sporting Goods. So she worked there, my dad worked there. And what did we hear about at dinner every night? The family business. And most of the time it wasn't, oh, the business is doing good. Well, how are we going to solve it? There was always stuff they had to discuss and how are we going to deal with this and, materials. And then that's normal. They bring it home. And that's the worst thing. That's the number one thing I tell families. Don't bring the business home. Because what the kids are hearing from the time they're, so high is not positive. It's usually negative, and it's always trouble. It's always, what are we going to do about this? And, it's typical about business, but so then when they get out of college, or high school in this case, sometimes, and the parent comes and, oh, well, I hope you take over the family business. Why don't you come work here? And they're like, yeah, no,
Oh,
no,
they've
please
got
save me
over a
from this.
decade's worth minimum, if not two, of yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. You know, so I really try to get families to think about what are you modeling? What are you saying? What are you hearing about? When they bring into the family business, bring them in and model the behavior, what you're doing that's really good, and get them exposed to the business and all parts of it and working with other people. But
Okay.
that thing
So they
about
can see
bringing it
more of the
home
good
is
side of
usually
it, not
what
just
turns
the
people.
negative.
Right. And during the recession, by the way, Mario, I had more students go into their family business because they couldn't find a job. And because of that, they're like, oh, wow, I'm really glad that happened and I did this because I didn't really see it as an opportunity and it really is. And
They
then
didn't want to take on all the responsibility. They'd rather just show up and get their paycheck.
well, I don't believe in that, and I teach that in class. You've got to have job descriptions, and you evaluate them, family members, the same as you do others. And
Okay.
I do that with my consulting job. But the other thing is that a lot of these people have taken that business and done a merger or started a whole nother business from it. And, I'm writing a chapter right now about a family business up in Michigan that was very successful, and
What area?
right around, well, it's not very far from you, actually. Um, it's up, well, I'll tell you, it's in what's the town in Grand Valley State? It's
Grand
over
Rapids.
Grand Rapids. It's a family business in Grand Rapids, and
Okay.
it's in a book chapter I'm writing right now. And they started out in the soda distributor business, the grandfather.
Sure.
And then the son was going to take it over. I mean, the second generation took it over. He was sort of training the son to take it over from him, and then they ended up selling it. And now the son's taken it, the third generation's taken it into the real estate business. And his son is doing investments. So it's taking that
It's
wealth,
shifted.
it's shifted, and that's the story of America. That's what's great about us.
Yeah, there's so many great stories, and I love hearing them. I was smiling at that one point, like to make a joke because you're saying don't bring the stuff home. And I also wanted to say I think it's good when people can talk about business because I know people that have high level professions or the husband or the wife is the entrepreneur, the other one isn't. And it's like when you can't talk about it, I don't love that either, but I get your point of don't be talking about all the bad stuff all the time. My joke was like, do what most businesses do for PR and marketing, like only highlight the good stuff, for Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff. Like, how'd your day go? Oh, fantastic. Look, like,
Yeah, well, and the students now, the young people nowadays are all into social. media. So what's the snapshot look like, or what's the
Yeah,
soundbite
bring
look
that home. Oh,
like?
great.
Right.
We had a good meeting. The other 9 hours were trash, but we had a good meeting.
Yeah. And so I think it's always the messages we give other people, and
Right.
entrepreneurs have to be very aware of the messages.
I agree. I talk about it a lot, and it's part of our training with the publishing process for our books and authors. Um, let's do the wheel of whatever. Not like we're not having fun already. And I've already asked you a couple questions I probably should have saved for this, but you want yellow or black?
Oh, I'm a yellow girl.
Yeah? Nice. All right, yellow question. My question for you would be, where do you think entrepreneurship's going to go over the next decade?
It's going to be much more, it's going to be impact and interfaced with um, Chat GPT and all the other products that are around
Oh,
it.
all
So
the AI stuff,
artificial
huh?
intelligence. I think this is actually a positive thing. I think we can create a huge number of businesses from that. So I think it's just anywhere but up. I'm always believe it's an up, and it
You
just
have
opens
to.
more
You
up.
have to.
Yeah, it's more opportunities. But the existing
In the
businesses have
feasibility
to.
analysis, what are the pros of it? What are the cons? And have, reasonable expectations, because I know some people that are banking on AI is going to answer everything. And literally just the other night, I saw a video of them playing tic tac toe with the robot. And it was like the robot was winning, but it didn't stay inside the square, and it didn't like play within the parameters. And I'm like, man, I should, what I mean? It's like it might win, but at what cost? Are you even following the rules? Is there, I don't think we'll ever lose the human interaction, because people are hardwired for human interaction. But all the repetitive tasks that we probably shouldn't be doing anyway.
Well, there's nationwide and actually worldwide, there is a shortage of younger people coming up. The birth rate's really gone down. So things like you just mentioned, we can use, you know, the robots and stuff to take up some of the things that are repetitive, but it's not going to replace humans. What it does is make it
Augments, right?
it augments. It's using it as a tool. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And the tool's going to improve pretty fast. So you got to sort of keep up on it. And then you have to figure out how to apply that to your business. So thank you
Absolutely.
very much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. I want to ask you, where would you like people to learn more?
Uh, they can go to my website, and it's www.entrepreneurship.uncg.edu. And if you Google Dianne Welsh, I have a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page,
Okay.
and I think you've got the link to my book.
Yes, I'll make sure
Books
that's
down
all
there.
on eainterviews.com on your show notes page.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate it. And, um, they can also email me,
Okay.
dhbwelsh@gmail.com. But, reach out through LinkedIn and Facebook. That's really the best way to see what I'm up to.
Very
And
good.
I'm happy to share my book information. I publish 8 books and 130 journal articles,
Wow,
and
what an
done
accomplishment.
about 350 presentations around the world. So
I've done
I've done a
5
lot of
books, but I
fun.
have not done all the professional articles and all that. That's amazing.
Well, maybe we can do one together. Thank you so much, Mario, for interviewing me, and love Detroit. I did some work there. Great city.
Yeah, Michigan's great.
Yep.
Well, thank you for everything. All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.